Based on their appearance and skeletal structures, fin fish, as opposed to shellfish, are divided into three categories: round fish, flat fish, and non-bony fish which have only cartilage. Round fish like salmon, striped bass, and trout are cylindrically shaped with eyes on either side of their head, whereas flat fish like Dover sole, flounder, and turbot look a bit peculiar to us with both eyes on one side of the head. Flatfish move like swimming saucers, with their dark side facing up. Non-bony fish include shark, monkfish, ray, and skate. For demonstration, we've grouped shark with roundfish and skate with flatfish. The differences in anatomy between roundfish and flatfish affect the methods of fabrication. We will demonstrate various techniques using a variety of fish. First roundfish, then flatfish. There are some common terms and forms that apply to finfish in general. A drawn fish means one that has had the entrails or guts removed. In some fish, the gills have also been removed. A dressed fish is one in which the guts, scales, and fins have been removed. With some fish, head or tail fin can be on or off. Pan-dressed refers to one fish or portion that can be placed in a cooking pan. Fillets are cuts of various sizes from which the bones have been completely removed. Depending on the type of fish, the chef may choose whether or not to remove the skin from a fillet. Steaks are created by cutting through a large fillet or the carcass of a dressed fish. Fillets can be rolled into paillettes, or cut into tranches, or even smaller finger-like goujonnettes. Fillet fish can even be ground up into a smooth textured forcemeat called mousseline. If you receive whole fish, one of your first steps in fabrication will be to gut them. The chef demonstrates here how to remove the viscera or guts from a typical round fish, a farm-raised hybrid striped bass. He cuts through just the skin of the belly, up from the tail, and removes all of the internal organs. If the entrails are left in too long, there will be discoloration or signs of belly burn, where the meat starts to separate from the rib bones. The fish must then be rinsed thoroughly inside and out. With some flat fish like flounder, the head must be removed to make sure that the attached guts come out as well. This too must be rinsed thoroughly. With most fish, cutting head to tail is the common practice. In general, right-handed people place the fish so that the belly is facing away, the fish appearing to swim right. Left-handed people do the opposite. There is no hard and fast rule. Do what is most comfortable and safe for you. Now the chef will fillet the salmon. It has already been gutted and scaled. With a good flexible filleting knife or chef's knife, cut behind the gill plate at a diagonal toward the head and preserve the flesh of the fillet. When you hit bone, turn the knife toward the tail. Protect the resulting flap from the next cut. For a large fish like this salmon, you'll need a knife that is longer than the fish is wide. Cutting straight back with long, smooth strokes, move the knife through the rib cage all the way down toward the tail, taking care to protect the flesh of your fillets. Atlantic salmon, with its firm orange flesh, is popular for its rich taste. Free the fillet from the rest of the fish. You can see the backbone nicely exposed all the way down the salmon. Turn the fish to the other side, cut behind the gill plate as before. With the same smooth strokes of the knife, free the other fillet. This method of fabricating leaves the belly bones intact. They must be removed completely to form a fillet. Carefully insert the knife under the layers of bones, and preserving as much flesh as possible, closely cut the bones out. As you can see, a sharp, flexible knife is essential to fabricate well. Trim off the excess bones and fins to create a nice, smooth shape. This basic filleting technique applies to most small round fish and those with soft bones like salmon. Round fish have pin bones, small intramuscular bones. They must be detected with fingers and pulled out with needle-nose pliers at an angle that doesn't damage the flesh. Be sure to remove them all. To remove the skin, carefully place the fish skin side down at the edge of the board so it doesn't get in the way of your hand. The knife is placed at an angle that will separate the flesh from the skin, but cut neither one. Always start at the tail. Create a little handle of fish skin in order to pull against the force of the cutting hand. With a smooth back and forth motion, free the flesh from the skin the entire length of the fillet. The skin can be left on or taken off depending on how the dish is to be served. This is the standard method for skinning fillets for both round and flat fish. Fillets are the starting point for smaller fabricated cuts. Here, the chef cuts the salmon fillets into slices, or tranches in French, a shape usually cut from large fillets. They are generally between 3 and 6 ounces and can be cut at a 45-degree angle for nice presentation. They can be cooked in a variety of ways. If you like, you may make tranches with the skin on, scales off, to add some crispness to the cooked dish. The Atlantic salmon also lends itself to demonstrating how to cut a steak. In French, darn. This salmon has already been scaled and gutted. As before, cut behind the gills on both sides and cut off the head. Cut the fins off with shears. Cut through the skin, flesh, and bones to create the steak, about 1 inch wide. Steaks cut near the head will contain pin bones. Bones and skin can be removed after the fish is cooked. The rainbow trout is another example of a round fish. The flesh of the trout is white and lean, firm but delicate. The guts and scales have already been removed from this trout. Cut in with the fillet knife from the top behind the gill. Turn and slide the knife down from head to tail. Go above the fin, keeping in close contact with the backbone. You have seen a basic filleting technique for round fish applied to the salmon. Because the trout is a smaller fish, you will not have to switch from your fillet knife to the larger chef's knife. To cut out the fillets, use the same procedure. To remove the fillet from the other side of the fish, carefully remove the layer of bones in the belly and trim. This makes a fillet with skin on. Needle nose pliers help to remove the remaining pin bones. Remove the skin in the usual way. Place the fillet on the edge of the cutting board. Use a flexible fillet knife at a slight angle, not so steep that you cut through the skin, and not so shallow that you can't peel off the flesh. Create a handle with the skin and gently use a back and forth motion down the length of the fillet, keeping in contact with the cutting board all the way. With practice, you too can cut nice clean fillets. A popular preparation for the trout is the butterfly style. It is cut in a way that leaves both fillets attached by the skin along the back. Depending on the dish, the head and tail can be on or off. First, make it pan ready by removing the fins with the shears. Debone the fish by going through the belly cavity. Carefully cut down both sides of the backbone without piercing the skin. Clear the backbone away from the tail and remove it. Using shears and the fillet knife, trim away the belly bones, taking care to preserve the flesh. This trout is ready to be stuffed, rolled, or folded over. It's the chef's choice. Larger round fish with firmer bones like snapper, tilapia, and cod have a structure that may call for a different filleting method in which the bones are cut around instead of through. We'll demonstrate with this red snapper, a firm but finely textured round fish. Begin as usual by using a fillet knife to cut at a diagonal behind the gill plate to the nape of the neck. Instead of cutting straight down from here towards the tail, start at the top of the fish along the back and work gradually towards the belly. With this fabrication method, don't cut through the belly bones and remove them after the fillet is cut away. Instead, cut carefully over the backbone and belly bones and remove the whole fillet intact. When you turn the fish over to cut the second fillet, there is less fish to grip, so find a position that allows you to comfortably maneuver the knife to remove the other fillet. This top-to-bottom method of fabrication can be used with any large fish whose bones might otherwise be a struggle, like the cod or tilapia. The last of our sampling of round fish are the mako shark, the swordfish, and the yellowfin tuna. Their flesh is meaty, dense, and dark in color. Because of the size of the whole fish, they can be purchased as large portion cuts. They can be identified by their markings. Mako shark has this large bloodline. The swordfish has this distinctive Y shape. This fillet of tuna also shows a bloodline, a dark strip deeper in color than the tuna's generally dark flesh. This large piece of swordfish is fabricated first into fillets and then into steaks, a more usable portion cut for a fish this size. Slice a clean cut through the Y. Make 4 to 6 ounce steaks, the common size for serving but not so thin that the cooking dries them out. The skin can remain until after cooking. This large piece of shark can also be fabricated into steaks. Remove the cartilage from the flesh. With the slicer, determine the dimensions of the piece, then cut steaks. Here they are between 4 and 6 ounces. While many chefs remove the skin after cooking, it may also be taken off during fabrication. From this piece of tuna, the chef fabricates steaks. He trims off the dark flesh with the slicer, then he removes the skin before cutting the tuna into steaks. If the steaks are all the same thickness, the cooking times will be about the same, an important consideration in a busy kitchen.